Tell me, have you ever lived in a place where you feel safe, where the climate is agreeable most of the year, and the opportunity to get away into nature is basically 10 to 15 minutes away wherever you are in the country? Why would you ever think about moving to another country? Now, despite the fact that I've had some family trying to convince me to move over to Australia because they've moved from New Zealand to Australia, I just believe that where we live here, or where I live here in New Zealand, has got to be one of the best places in the world. Now, I'm 74 years old. I was born and bred Kiwi, and I look back to my childhood, and I think back to what freedom was like as a kid. During the holidays, you would get up in the morning, you would head off out with your friends for the day, and as long as you were back by evening meal time, that was fine. You know, parents, I guess, knew that we knew what the boundaries were, what we were allowed to do and what we weren't allowed to do. And we used to go and have a lot of fun. We'd go and go down to the local swimming pool or to the local swimming hole at one of the local little rivers. And we'd just wander around the streets. I mean, I lived in a small town, admittedly, but I had family that lived in a city as well. And there was never any restrictions on our freedom. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, you could wander around, go and do whatever you wanted to. And you didn't have any fear of being picked up or hijacked or anything horrible like that there's all this fear of these days. There was basically a rule: as long as you're home by dinner time, you know, you get to understand, even if you didn't have a watch, you knew when the sun went down and when it was getting late in the afternoon, so you'd make sure you got home. Going to school, primary school, we used to walk to school on our own, never ever had to have an escort. Once I went to high school, all the people in the small town where I was, all the kids there, we used to bus down to the nearest town where there was a high school. And we would do that every day. You'd walk round to the bus stop, you'd catch the bus, come home at the end of the day, get off the bus, walk home. And there was just no fear of anything. And I could sort of understand, and our parents worked anyway, so there was none of this, you know, being picked up at the bus stop or dropped off at school or anything like that. Not quite sure, it's possibly a wee bit different nowadays, but not altogether different. I know that in the city here, there's kids still catch the school bus and go off to school. The younger ones, I know they do. We have what we call walking buses here, where all the kids in the neighbourhood all meet up on a corner with a couple of the parents and they walk them all to school, and the same thing coming home at the end of the day, because the schools aren't that far away, but just it gets all the kids together in the neighbourhood, and they all walk along the road just with a couple of parents that just make sure everyone gets there okay. So that's, you know, as far as the younger ones are concerned. The older ones quite happy to walk off to high school or to intermediate, or to catch the bus if they were a bit further away than walking distance. And there's just, you know, that they just feel comfortable that the freedom is there to be able to do all of this. Now, of all the time that, you know, as I was a teenager and growing up and went out to work and all of this sort of stuff, even our social life was, we never sort of felt pressured or threatened by any unsavoury people. And it was just always very relaxed. And growing up, I was a bit the same with my own kids. Lived at the beach. We had a business at the beach, but the kids lived at the beach, and they would go off all day and you'd never see them until night time. But you always knew that they were with all their friends and doing what kids do, and they would have a lot of fun and come back home and nice and suntanned, and as they did by living by the beach. But there was just this feeling of it was a very good, relaxed lifestyle. And to a degree, it still exists like that today. I mean, in my age, I'm quite happy at night just to go up if I need to go down to the local shop to get something that I've run out of. quite happy 8 o'clock at night just to drive down to the local shopping area and go and pick anything up. I don't have any fear of being, hijacked or anything like that. And it's just so relaxing. And I just sort of think, why on earth would you ever want to leave a country like this? The country has been, I've felt I've never been let down by New Zealand. I know there's been economic ups and downs over the years, over the decades, but you just learn to ride the waves as you go. And every country's the same, even with all the economic issues around the world at the moment on costs and all that. I mean, no country is an island. We're all suffering the same sorts of things. I know each country thinks that they're worse off than everybody else, but that's not really the case. We're all going through quite an economic struggle at the moment. But that's just the way it is, because if you decide that you're going to go off and you want to escape what you're having to put up with at the moment, you're only probably going to get into a bigger mess wherever you go somewhere else. And if it's not today or tomorrow that the mess is there, then it'll probably be there in 6 months, 12 months, who knows how soon. But as far as this country's concerned, there's so many good things about the country. We're lucky that we've got no land borders with any other country because we're an island nation. We've got 3 main islands, the 2 big ones and the small one. We've got coastline all around us. There's good fishing, there's good swimming, wonderful places for holidaying. And our nearest neighbour, Australia, is a 3-hour flight away. Just very easy just to zip across the ditch, as we call it, and just to catch a flight to Australia. A lot of New Zealanders now have got family over there, especially on the east coast, which is Brisbane, Sydney area. Me, I'm a bit different. One of my daughters used to live in Perth, and I think they're going to be going back there. And I've got granddaughters and their families living in Perth. Now that's on the western side of Australia. It's very isolated over there. And as far as the middle of the country, there's not really a lot in between the east and the west coast, except a huge expanse of desert and things. But even though they have a good lifestyle over there, I've still got no desire to leave New Zealand. The weather's always good. Winters where we are, here up in Auckland, where I am in Auckland, it's the winters are quite mild. They get a bit cooler, but we don't get snow. Very, very seldom do you see any ice on your windscreen in the morning if you have your car parked outside. And it's just such a relaxing place to live. And everywhere's got political issues, seems to have political issues at the moment. I mean, America seems to be in an absolute turmoil, and different other countries, and I know Britain having a few issues. Every country, even us here, we have a few issues, but as far as I'm concerned, a bad government's only one election away from getting to a good government. So if you can sort of put up with what you've got in the meantime until the next one comes around, hopefully people that are able to vote will see the light of day and put in a good party that will govern the country. And the main thing about the government is to look after the people. It's the people that vote them in. They're our caretakers. They're the ones that we pay taxes to, and we rely on them to spend the taxes in a way that benefits the country, not to line their own pockets. That's not what good governance is about. We don't pay taxes to line someone else's pocket. We pay taxes to have good infrastructure, good road systems, good facilities that are needed on a day-to-day basis, as well as our local taxes, or rates as we call them. But we rely on good governance of people that are going to look after the interests of the people and put the money where it needs to be. And as I said, not to line their own pockets or their friends' pockets. That's just an absolute no-no. And most of New Zealand would not tolerate that anyway. So that's one thing that's really good here, is that because we're only a community of 5.5 million people, the chances of any government getting away with any sort of corruption or anything like that is pretty low, because our government system here is based on the British system, which I think is the Westminster system. And if the government aren't doing a good job, you can put in a vote of no confidence and they get ousted, and have an if they, we have an emergency election. But there's none of this business about waiting for another election to come around and not being able to do anything about it. We are in a position to be able to do something about it. And the majority of the population most certainly would, if it got to a stage where something had to be done about it. But other than that, our lifestyle is so laid back. We enjoy freedom of speech. We enjoy freedom of movement all around the country. You can just get in your car and drive to wherever you want to go, or catch a plane, or if you want to cross from one island to the other, the main islands, we've got 2 ferry services. We've got the Inter-Island ferry, and then we've got, I think, Blue Bridge is the other ferry system. Down south, we've got the most beautiful scenery, mountains, lakes, anything that you would want to have as good scenery. Even here in the North Island, even though we don't have the benefit of the Southern Alps, which is the big range, the snow-covered range running from north to south, we still have lots of areas of natural beauty that for touristy things, or even just as a local to visit. I remember when I was younger, I made a point of trying to see as much of this country as I can. I've been to most places in this North Island. I've been to the top of the North Island, to the bottom of the North Island, and from one coast to the east to west coast, covered the whole lot. As far as the South Island's concerned, I've been down as far as Christchurch, but further down than that, into Queenstown, where it's a beautiful touristy area. I've never been further south. I've never been to the bottom of the South Island, which I would love to do one day. And I've never done the west coast of the South Island, which is another area that's so different from anything else in New Zealand. Because it's the coastline is quite close to the mountain ranges, the Southern Alps. It's quite a wet climate down there, but it's fairly remote, and it's apparently just got a life of its own. So that's one area that I've still got to go to. But other than that, I've got no desire to leave this country. And as long as I'm alive, I can see that I'm going to be staying here. So I just, want to put it out there as being, this is a beautiful country. I've got no desire. I've never had any desire to live anywhere else in the world. So that's my little take on my little skiting about my lovely country. And so if you've learned anything from this, great. If you turned off early, you probably won't have heard this bit anyway. But if you're new here, thank you for stopping by my channel. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. If you have any questions at all about New Zealand, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And in the meantime, stay safe, everybody. Take care. And I'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.